watching NDTV The World Report. We will get you the very latest in regard to our top story is Pakistan's Prime Minister who has met with the Iranian Supreme Leader Khamenei in Tehran and has said that his government is committed to further deepening strategic cooperation with Iran. Now, Pakistan has been scrambling to salvage its image in the wake of India's Operation Sindoor, which had exposed Islamabad's deep ties to terrorism. Islamabad has been desperate in its efforts to save its face by trying for support here. During his visit, now the Prime Minister of Pakistan has also expressed his willingness to hold peace talks with India. To know more on this, let's just also go across to my colleague Vishal, who's joining us. But before that, let's listen into Prime Minister Modi, who's gone on to talk about the only dialogue that India could ever have with Pakistan is in connection with terrorism or in connection with POK.
अगर पाकिस्तान से बात होगी तो टेररिज्म पर ही होगी। अगर पाकिस्तान से बात होगी तो पाक ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर पीओके उस पर ही होगी।
Vishal joining us. Vishal, of course, it is Pakistan's Prime Minister showing his willingness to talk about terrorism, to talk about Kashmir, to talk about the water situation, talk about the Indus Water Treaty. But, India's stand is very, very clear, and it's been said time and again by Prime Minister Modi as well as others in the central government that the only conversation that India is open to would only be on the lines of terrorism or as far as, Pakistan occupied Kashmir is concerned, POK, and no other conversation can ever take place.
Yeah, that has been pretty much specified and clarified by the PM Narendra Modi time and again, as you mentioned, that India will only speak with Pak when it comes to POK, Kashmir and its terror-related, encouragement that it has been doing for the past few decades. And there will be no other engagements with Pakistan, is what India has been repeatedly saying. And this goes to show that Pakistan is desperate for support on the international stage. PM of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, is on a 4-nation tour as we speak. He has already met the Turkish President. He met the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khomeini. Then he also met the Iranian President. And he spoke about a plethora of topics. Both the leaders spoke about many things. And he also spoke about India-Pakistan conflict and said that Pakistan is ready for peace talks. But it's all sort of hypocrisy because all of us know, it's well known that Pakistan has been exposed on the international stage by India through its Operation Sindoor. And time and again, there have been many terror-related incidents that have originated from Pakistani soil. So the talk about peace talks really does not have any ground.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, you were talking about the role that Iran has played, and that is what Pakistan's Prime Minister has thanked Iran for, playing that role in the ceasefire agreement that's been reached upon. But Prime Minister Modi today put out its strongest message to Pakistan, saying that the terrorists should have been eliminated on that very night itself. And, this is that Pakistan has been punished, and there's proof on camera while Operation Sindoor is now, in the Atma Nirbhar mode, while Operation Sindoor it really symbolizes the power of India. While even, referring to the Indus Water Treaty that, the Prime Minister has spoken about that issue as well, that should remain in abeyance. And the Prime Minister there, talking about the hypocrisy of Pakistan that has been exposed, and terror activities are not just a proxy war, saying that, in fact, Pakistan will pay a price while India is, all for peace. But the thorn of terrorism will be removed by Prime Minister Modi. That is the promise that Prime Minister Modi has made from Gujarat, his home turf.
सिंदूरिया सागर की गर्जना और लहराता तिरंगा जन मन के हृदय में मातृभूमि के प्रति अपार प्रेम एक ऐसा नजारा था, एक ऐसा दृश्य था। और ये सिर्फ गुजरात में नहीं, हिंदुस्तान के कोने कोने में है। शरीर कितना ही स्वस्थ क्यों न हो, लेकिन अगर एक कांटा चुभता है तो पूरा शरीर परेशान रहता है। अब हमने तय कर लिया है उस कांटे को निकाल के रहेंगे।
In other news, nearly 50 people, including 4 children, have been injured after a car that rammed into the fans celebrating Liverpool's Premier League trophy parade. This is a parade that took place on Monday evening. A total of 20 people were treated for injuries at the scene, while a further number of 27 were taken to a hospital. Now, a 53-year-old man from the Liverpool area has been arrested in relation to this incident. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom has also said the scenes in Liverpool were appalling and added that his thoughts were with the victims. Let's listen in to what the police in the United Kingdom had to say.
What I can tell you is that we believe this to be an isolated incident, and we are not currently looking for anyone else in relation to it. The incident is not being treated as terrorism. We would ask that people refrain from sharing distressing footage from the incident online, and please share any information directly with our investigation team.
4 children were injured in this incident. A total of 27 people were taken to hospital. 50 or so were injured in some way, without them all requiring hospital treatment. And we understand that 1 child and 1 adult out of those injured are seriously injured. Police did move fairly quickly after the incident to say that the man that they had arrested was a 53-year-old white British man, and that's thought to be partly because of some of the speculation that was swirling online about the possible identity of the driver of this vehicle that ploughed into the large crowds of people that were still celebrating Liverpool's Premier League win. Officials in the city of Liverpool believe that around 1 million people had been out on the streets celebrating Liverpool's Premier League win. Very, very busy streets indeed. Some people starting to make their way home as this incident unfolded. Police still urging people not to speculate about the exact circumstances behind the incident. The 53-year-old man remains in custody. It was an episode that the Prime Minister Keir Starmer called appalling when it unfolded on Monday, and again he thanked police and emergency services for the work that they had been carrying out. But as I say, 27 people in total taken to hospital, no fatalities recorded, which many will view as incredibly lucky given the speed at which this vehicle was clearly travelling. Ollie Barrett, NDTV, London.
A mass shooting was reported at the Fairmount Park in the United States and Philadelphia area on Monday night, where 2 people were killed and at least 8 others have been wounded. According to the police, at least 2 of the shooting victims are believed to be juveniles. The incident happened around 10:30 at night. This was on the Lemon Hill Drive at the it's a very popular drive area where local media reported has gone on to say that the age of the victims who died in the mass shootout is not known yet. It is also not known if anyone was taken into custody by the authorities, but the Philadelphia police are investigating the matter. According to the Ukrainian military, more than 200 of the country's prisoners of war have died in Russian captivity since Moscow launched its full-scale invasion over 3 years ago. One of them was, in fact, a man who has been captured by the Russian army in Mariupol in 2022, together with thousands of other Ukrainian soldiers. In August of 2022, his family received a letter from him in which he wrote that I'm alive and well and everything will be all right.
З полону нам прийшов лист, написаний його рукою. Є лист, до речі, покажу. Є лист. І також ті самі слова все добре, я жив-здоровий. І ще з полону в нас є відео. Відео, де також звертається я жив-здоров, хоч там подивитися на нього, цього не можна сказати, що він здоровий. І все, що ми отримали, що ми побачили. Потім побачили лише труну.
Now let's get to the 5th round of nuclear talks with the United States concluding over the weekend. Now Iran has declared that it is capable to revive and survive even if the negotiations fail. This is an option that is non-existent from Donald Trump's perspective. President Trump has repeatedly warned Tehran that should talks fail and a deal acceptable to Washington not be reached, the consequences will be dire as far as Iran is concerned. The US president has threatened a combination of crippling economic sanctions and bombings across Iran's strategic facilities in order to wipe out its nuclear ambitions forever. Donald Trump escalated his campaign against Harvard University on Monday, threatening to take away $3 billion in grants and lashing out at some of its foreign students as radicalized lunatics. Trump said that he would consider removing the money from Harvard and giving it to trade schools in the United States instead. In a separate post, he also has gone on to rally against the universities. These are the international students, saying that he was waiting on Harvard to supply foreign students lists so that the United States government could determine how many radicalized lunatics, troublemakers are there in all and should not be let back into the country. The comments intensified Trump's attacks on Harvard since his inauguration as the US president in January, including a freeze of more than $2.2 billion in federal funding for grants at the university. A Palestinian official said on Monday that Hamas has agreed for a proposal by the United States Special Representative Steve for a Gaza ceasefire, only for an Israeli official to deny that the proposal was Washington's, and adding to that no Israeli government would and has accepted it. Now, this is also is rejected the notion that Hamas had accepted his offer for a hostage deal and a ceasefire in Gaza, telling Reuters that that would also be seen was completely unacceptable, and the proposal being discussed was not the same as his. 75 of the world's poorest nations will repay a record $22 billion to China in 2025, most of it linked to Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative. The repayments are straining public funds for healthcare, for education, as well as climate efforts. Analysts say that China's role has shifted from global lender to debt collector, using financial leverage amid rising geopolitical stakes. In a very significant policy shift, India has resumed granting visas to Afghanistan citizens across multiple visa categories nearly 4 years after suspending all visa services following the Taliban's return to power in Afghanistan. This amid warming up of ties when it comes to Taliban. You have to note here that while no official public announcement has been made, a notification posted on the official visa portal has now confirmed the rollout of a new Afghan visa module in late April. The updated portal has listed categories including students, businesses, medical staff, as well as medical attendants, and their entry, as well as UN diplomat visas. The entry visas are now available to artists, cultural professionals, academics, and others invited to participate in cultural events hosted by recognized Indian institutions. French President Emmanuel Macron played down on Monday an incident in which his wife pushed him in the face as the couple arrived in Vietnam to begin a tour of the southeastern part of Asia. In the video that you see on your screen right now, Brigitte Macron appeared to shove her husband's face before he descended from the presidential plane late on Sunday, causing him to step back before he recovered and waved to the cameras on the tarmac. King Charles will deliver a significant speech in Canada's parliament later tonight, as is expected to offer his support in the country's dispute with US President Donald Trump. The King and Queen have received a very warm welcome when they arrived in Ottawa on the royal couple's first trip to Canada since the start of their reign. Now, soon after arriving, the King, who is Canada's head of state, held a meeting with the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, recently elected, on a wave of anti-Trump public sentiments. Now, in what is being seen as a move by the interim government in Bangladesh to clamp down on the dissent by the government employees, protests have been erupting in Bangladesh, adding to the problems of the government of Muhammad Yunus. This is the interim government in Bangladesh. Protests also took place in the secretariat, according to local media outlets. The interim government in Bangladesh had issued an ordinance on Sunday allowing the Ministry of Public Administration to dismiss public servants for misconduct without lengthy procedures, which are seen as safeguards against the arbitrary dismissals sparking outrage across the bureaucracy. Well, Saurabh joining us. Saurabh, take us to the demands that are being made during these protests that we are seeing that seem to be really, hinting out as far as the interim government is concerned, and they really possibly do not want this interim government to last.
Well, I mean, these are specific demands on specific issues, but these are, of course, adding to the problems of the interim government. Now, the interim government has been facing criticism, and that's something that they've responded to as well. But many are seeing this move by the interim government to allow the ministry to actually, terminate people for misconduct without the lengthy procedure that's there. Is being seen as an effort by this government in the interim government in Bangladesh, which is led by Mohammad Yunus, to try and clamp down on those who show dissent. And that's why you see these protests taking place now. Armed police have been deployed at the secretariat in Dhaka since the morning. However, the protests have still spilled into the fourth day, and they are continuing as of now, though the interim government has not yet come back with a response on the demands. One of the demands is, of course, rollback. There are other groups that are protesting as well. And remember, just a few days ago, a top-ranking official to the level of foreign secretary left his position because he was unhappy with certain decisions that were being taken, is what sources said. So all of this is taking place in the context, in the backdrop of that. And of course, these protests continue, adding to the problems for the Mohammad Yunus-led interim government.
Right. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for joining us with those details. Moving on now, China and Cambodia. The naval forces there have held a joint drill, and this is the Golden Dragon in both maritime and aerial zones near Cambodia's port. The operation, involving 11 naval vessels and 3 helicopters from both countries, stimulated. This is a scene where terrorists hijacked a cargo ship. This was the first air-sea live force exercise that's taken place. This is called the Golden Dragon series of joint exercises, which began on the 14th of May and marks Cambodia's latest and largest joint drill. This is the drill exercises that have been taking place with China. Meanwhile, Venezuela president has claimed an overwhelming victory in the regional and parliamentary elections, which were boycotted by the majority of opposition parties. The main opposition group, led by popular figurehead, has urged voters to stay away to avoid legitimizing what she described as a farce election. More than 70 people were arrested in the lead up to the election, including a leading opposition figure as well.
Venezuela hoy lidia con la frustración, la rabia y el miedo. Pero por eso, numerosos dirigentes y ciudadanos decidimos dar un paso enfrente y usar el voto como una herramienta de lucha, como una herramienta de resistencia, pero sobre todo como una herramienta de expresión para recuperar espacios que hoy están gobernados por la desidia y la ineptitud de quien nos gobierna desde Miraflores.
Now, Rio de Janeiro's beaches, filled with its iconic samba music, may become a fading memory. Vendors will now need official permission to play music on the beaches in Rio de Janeiro. The new measures are due to come into force, and that's going to take place from the 1st of June, and will outlaw food and drink sales, chair rentals, as well as loudspeakers and even live music in kiosks without official permission. The mayor has issued a decree in which, establishing these new rules for the city's waterfront is a move in order to preserve the urban order, the public safety and the environment, as well as promote peaceful relations between tourists and residents. And with that, we're slipping away a short break. Back with a whole lot more on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the World Report on NDTV. Let's get you the latest when it comes to Russian President Vladimir Putin, who's called for the US tech giants like Microsoft and Zoom to be throttled in Russia, accusing them of acting against national interests. Speaking to business leaders, Putin has gone on to say that foreign firms enjoy favorable conditions but harm Russia in return. He pushed for stronger local tech and warned that companies like McDonald's, which existed in the market, won't be welcomed back easily. Japan has lost its position as the world's largest creditor. This is the creditor nation for the first time in 34 years, falling behind Germany even as its net external assets hit a record high in 2024. Japan's net external assets have reached over 533 trillion yen last year, rising about 13% from the previous year based on government data. While the figure marked an all-time high, Japan has lost the top spot it has held since 1991, being overtaken by Germany, whose net external assets have now crossed over 569 trillion yen. China remained in third place with the net assets of 516 trillion yen, and that is according to the latest reports. Amid the recent wave of mass layoffs, Sweden-based Volvo Cars is eliminating 3,000 positions, roughly 7% of its workforce, as part of its cost-cutting program, as the automotive industry faces challenges from higher costs for raw materials, a diminished European car market, and US President Donald Trump's 25% tariffs on imported cars and steel. A move to revive investor confidence, the layoffs come after the Sweden-based company reported a sharp drop in earnings in the first quarter of 2025. Human resources research and development, R&D, and communication departments are likely to be affected the most. Walmart is facing backlash after it fired nearly 1,500 employees, sparking online outrage from supporters. These are MAGA supporters. Now, critics falsely accuse the company of replacing American workers with H-1B visas. These are the holders of those visas, specifically targeting Indian origin CTO Suresh Kumar. However, the cuts were reportedly part of a larger restructuring, not outsourcing. The roles affected include advertising and e-commerce, not tech jobs typically tied to H-1B visas. Southwest Airlines has said that it will charge $35 for one checked-in bag and $45 for the second, except for certain elite customers, bringing an end to the airline's free luggage policy. The move formalizes Southwest's March announcement when the airlines had gone on to say that it would end its bags fly free policy by charging some customers as it looked for ways to shore up earnings. Portugal icon Cristiano Ronaldo has signaled that he would leave Al Nassr after declaring that a chapter is over hours after the Saudi Pro League finished. The 40-year-old footballer joined Al Nassr in 2022 from Manchester United, and his contract in Saudi Arabia ends this summer. Ronaldo ended as Saudi Pro League's top goal scorer on 24.